but the notion of the three egos.
Oh, yes. AI, three egos. Emerson.
The poet Hafez, have you heard of him? And could you speak about some of his work?
Hafez, okay. Anyone else? Hello. That's it?
Well, I guess kind of playing off the AI question, do you think that actual AI is possible, given that our intelligence is based on the fact that we have a body and five set of senses, and our inputs are from that? And so I guess maybe not AI is possible, but would it look anything like human intelligence? Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. So let's do AI very, very quickly. It'll take us no more than maybe a couple minutes. Then we'll do Hafez and the three egos, and then we'll go home. The only thing really I can say about AI is within the context of chess. Magnus Carlsen has been the world champion for perhaps more than a decade now, I think. And I suppose some of the best matches he's ever had has been with AI. And he's been able to be victorious a couple of times, more than a couple times. I actually don't know what human intelligence is. I know that we think, and most of our thinking has to do with reacting to what happens to us from the outside. So it's not so much thinking, really. It's just reacting randomly to whatever. I remember, I think the first day of this semester, I don't know if it was this class or another class, I received a note from my boss saying that there has been a complaint about you. You said something and it hurt someone's feelings. Now, I'm not sure if that was an intelligent complaint. All I know is that there are things that live inside people. They're exposed to things. In this case, something that I had said, it pushes a button and they react. There is no intelligence in it. I don't even know if there is thinking in it. They just react and that's it. Intelligence, I think it's something very, very, very different. Krishnamurti had talked about intelligence. In fact, he has a big, thick book on intelligence, and he had an interview with David Bohm, who was a physicist some years ago. I think he's dead now. That intelligence very much is like inspiration. You don't know how it comes about. It all of a sudden, happens to you. One of the nice things about AI is like playing chess with a computer, which is it has access to about 50, 60 moves ahead of its time. So when you make a move, the computer sits back and says, okay, what are the possibilities? What do you think Josh is going to do in the next half hour? And for someone like Magnus Carlsen to be able to defeat, such an entity is an enormous task. You got to be a genius. I'm not really quite sure if it's best to move through life with feelings, if it's best to move through life through reflecting. In feeling, you fall into error, you make a lot of mistakes. In reflecting, you don't make very many moves, you don't act too much because you always second guess yourself. But the choices that you do make in life, can be relatively sound, and the consequences will not be as dire or devastating. Once in a while I sit back and I listen to James Baldwin, and he's got some talks out there, and he talks about anger and the black people in America. He talks about redlining, he talks about drugs, alcohol, violence, and it's an interesting thing. There is such a calmness to the things that he says, and it has to be rooted in the fact that he's lived in a society, he's been touched by, the forces of society, he's been able to kind of stand back, observe, take notes, and then talk about all the things that most of us can't talk about because we feel too much about them, I'm not sure which part is better. I'm not sure if it's best to be like a Mike Tyson if someone calls it the N-word, or in my case, if someone wants to call me a camel jockey, if it's best to punch him in the face and knock him out, or look upon this person as a diseased human being and say, let's go to Pete's Coffee and let's sit and talk and let me figure out what your sickness is. I'm not sure which is best. I think it's better at times to be like Mike Tyson, to just beat someone up. And next time they want to spit out some, words, they can think twice, fear of getting beat up. Because to take someone, to do what Jesus says, turn the other cheek. We do this with kids. You tell them to not to do a certain thing and they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And after a while, you just lose patience and just slap them or give them a timeout or kick them in the stomach. I don't know what parents do these days. But I suppose before you get to the point of frustration, you kind of just, once they do something wrong, you scream at them and you inject the fear of God. And from that point on, every time they want to do, the thing that was inappropriate, they think twice about it. I'm writing this piece on Rumi, and once in a while I go to ChatGPT just to see if my grammar is okay, since English is my second language. And the thing I get back from this AI is something that I didn't even write. I know the Persian history relatively well, and AI comes forth with things that are just inaccurate. If by AI you mean, is it going to take human reflection away? Well, human beings are not the sort of animals that enjoy reflection, so that doesn't really matter. Is it going to take human creativity away? Well, to be creative, you need to be inspired. You need to have the temperament. You also need time. And in a rat race such as this, where everybody's trying to get to the top, the next Beyonce, the next Snoop Dogg, the next Miley Cyrus, I'm not quite sure if you can call these people creative. If you happen to be creative, it's just going to ooze out of you, because creativity has to do with a good amount of pressure that's built inside you. And at a certain point, if you have the language, if you have the talent, it just comes out. Most of us don't have the time or the capacity to be creative, to be reflective. We don't really care. I mean, that's the thing that you need to understand. We don't care. And if you don't care, it's much better for AI to make decisions for you. If you're just a dumbass and you're just moving around or moving through life without thinking or reflecting much, just have someone like AI, like your parents, think for you and decide where you need to go. So for a whole host of us, it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Once in a while you drive on the highway and you see this woman, having fallen asleep behind her Tesla, while driving. And you honk because it's on autopilot and, it goes where it goes. And it's beautiful. I mean, you're exhausted. You're probably a lawyer, work about 15, 16 hours a day. You don't have time for your kids, for your husband. You don't have time to take a nap. And AI is there to take care of you. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you just understand what it means to be a human being in the 21st century and how uncreative, how unreflective we are, AI there, AI not there, it makes really little difference.
You don't think AI is being oversold to us, as in
Everything is.
technology isn't
Oh yeah.
real, or I mean, when you're talking about chess, it's just a math equation. It's going out a number of digits, a number of things, and the same thing with AI language. It's just an equation. It says how many possible answers are there to this question it's asking me, and then you have a parameter that tells you answer it this way. It's not. I don't think AI is able to ever equate love or
Oh, you don't need love.
fear or any of those things.
Love is love is a complete waste of time. I mean, look at us.
I agree with you. It's-
You're like 40, I'm 60. Imagine both of our wives were to die
Yeah.
and you're single and now you want to go out and date. Well, what has time given you? Time has given you insights, some reflections, some pain. And when you go out on date, you ask specific questions. You very much act like an AI. You've been there, you've done that, you know what questions are silly not to be asked because they would devastate your life. And that's what age does. Age gives you perspectives. Age gives you, your mind and your emotion become seasoned. And you know what pieces you should move. Should you move through your date with the head that's on your shoulders or the head that's below your waist? And if you're relatively seasoned, if you've been there, you've done that, you've experienced some pain, you act very much like AI. You don't move through your emotions. I don't care how attractive you are, how well you speak. Love happens eventually, don't worry about it. You know, if it does, it's not there, it's not there. You know, I don't care if my wife loves me, as long as she's willing to take me to Kaiser when I'm not feeling well. That's the only thing that matters. You know, I just want someone who's responsible. You know, and if you're responsible and if you don't do what, you know, is your responsibility, then you have guilt about you, shame about you, repent about you. Your parents will make you feel bad. You know, AI is good, it's great. Being a human sucks. So, you know, most of you, if any of in this class have ever gone to therapy, what your therapist really will eventually want you to do is to become detached from your past, to become detached from your emotions, and reflect and observe and think intelligently about how you want to react to your history and how you want to react to other people, especially those who have power over you. That's AI. Move through life without emotions. Be very calculative. So you can win the game of dating, the game of class, the game of being in society. If you move through your emotions, you know, being artificial and dumb as opposed to intelligent, then life has a tendency of just pushing you around. Anyways, who cares? Whatever. Hafiz. Any other questions? Deviante.
Yeah.
What happened to Kruna?
I don't know. Me and Chandler were just talking about
Well, you don't have her number?
I have her Instagram and that's about it. I think Chandler also texted her and asked, and I don't think he's gonna respond to it. So maybe, hopefully, she's just sick.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What do you think we sacrifice by understanding other people?
Imagine you knock on my office door and you say, Amir, I need to talk. Why would I want to talk to you? Give me one good reason. I mean, you want to talk to me in hopes that I understand you and you understand yourself through me, right? A little bit. You want to vent. You can either use me as a toilet bowl, which is okay, I don't really mind, or you're there to be understood by yourself and by me. The first is, why would I want to do that? Why would you want to give your time to another human being so you can understand them? Why do you care? I mean, do you like them? Do you love him? Do you have a Messiah complex? What's your issue? What is it about another human being's problem that is so valuable to you that you want to spend time and energy? Give them your ears. Why? You want to redeem people? Is that what it is? You're like the doctor of their emotions or their soul? So the first thing is, why do you care? And I suppose being young, having lots of time ahead of you, it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. And some of the things I just said has to do really mostly with me, not so much with you. When someone knocks on my door, I don't open it. And when they do come in and they say, I have this, I say, okay, ask it in class, get lost now. Okay. And I work very much like AI. I've been in this business for about 30 years. I've been in the book since I was 10, 11. You know, came from a ridiculous culture. And at this stage in my life, the things that used to be interesting no longer are. I'm no longer moving with my emotions. I don't care where you are in life. I don't care how you're suffering. You know, because at times it may be just too much for me to deal with. I can't go into your life and fix all the components. It's not possible. And just because you want to vent, there are all these other people to whom you can go and vent. It's not a problem. Okay. Second has to do with understanding. I'm not sure how anyone understands anyone. And tell me what it means to be black in America. I mean, first you have to know the language. Second, you need to really be aware of the experiences that you've had, some of it being profoundly negative. Then you have to be able to express all those things to me. And the things that you've experienced, most of it has been through your feelings. You don't like going to Safeway and being looked at simply because of your skin color. How can you relay that to me? Unless you're very imaginative. You say, Amir, you're from the Middle East. I mean, look at your beard. Look at the way you look. You look like Osama bin Laden. You know, when you walk in a dominantly Caucasian environment, that's the way probably people look at you, as the next terrorist. Hello. Okay. You have to forgive me, I forgot your question.
Would you choose to understand someone? What do you sacrifice by doing that?
Well, if you have nothing better to do, it's great. I mean, if you're sitting home and playing video games, good morning, Abi, how are you? If you're sitting home and playing video games, just vegging out, it's much better to be with another human being where they are like a puzzle with traumatic or problematic emotions and thoughts. And you get a chance to exercise the way you think and feel about things. And you can kind of somehow put this puzzle back together in a relatively harmonious way. That's a good thing. You know, but most of it depends on where you are and what you're doing, and how young you are, how tired you are, how vibrant you are. There are lots of components involved. It's not as simple. When you're young, you don't really much sacrifice anything. And the reason why I say you don't really sacrifice much is because you always think that you have a good amount of time ahead of you where you can fix things. Bad things are never going to happen to you. You know, I get to campus around 5 o'clock, like this morning, and there is no one. There's no one here. It's just me. And sometimes I say to myself, what if there was an earthquake and this entire building was to collapse? No one would ever know I'm here except my wife. And maybe some of you guys. But I wonder if Amir is alive. You know, that's it. But for you, being young and, you know, having perhaps a wrong definition of compassion and forgiveness and sacrifice, it's good. You actually become a person for the people. We don't sacrifice much. You know, and you should take advantage of it. You're a nice, good-looking young man. Find someone out there who desires to be understood. Sacrifice yourself. Become like the sacrificial lamb. make sure they're attractive. Okay? And when you listen to them, they lure you in. When they see you listening to them, they begin to like you, and then they begin to love you. And your relationship is based on therapy. It revolves around therapy, which is really, really good. They will love you as long as you listen to them. And you will love them as long as they depend on you to be listened to and understood. It's a great relationship until your trash bin gets full. You say, you know what, I've heard this story 50 times. Please, just shut up. Or maybe your ears have now become far too casual for them. So they look at you and they no longer feel anything. Like they don't want to talk to you anymore about this stuff. Then you move on or they move on. And, you start the game over again. There are no shortage of people with problems. The only question is, what sort of problems do you want to be around? And that's the trick. You just got to know what you're good at and what you have the capacity to or for. And as long as you know those things, you pick and choose your problems very, very carefully. I like sick people. I really do. I mean, philosophy is just that. But if you come to me with like parents' issues, I don't like that kind of a sickness. If you've had some traumatic experience in the past, I don't care for that either. If you say, I have a great life, I love my parents and I love this and I love that, and I love Samuel because he always comes in late, I'm just, ever since, for example, hypothetically speaking, I started this class, I kind of feel confused. Now that's a sickness I enjoy. And then I say, well, why don't you come to the office? I'll make you a cup of coffee, we sit and we talk. And then you begin to talk like an infant. Say, I was deceived by that initial sickness. It's just too much sickness right now. You need to just shut your mouth and listen. If you can't do that, it's no use coming to my office. Is it?
Like an additional question, did you ever study like psychology at all, or?
No. I think to be good at anything, when my oldest son was to get married, we had gone to Los Angeles and there was a wedding. And so my son and I danced, I danced like a 2x4. He was like a Michael Jackson of sorts. So we come back to Roseville and there is a message on my answering machine, are you so-and-so? If yes, please give us a call. So I called this woman and she sounded really, really hot, on the phone. And she says, well, was that your son? I say, yeah. And your business is? What do you want? I have a daughter, she says. She's 17 and a half, almost 18. You're Persian, I'm Persian, this is America. I don't want my daughter to end up in a bad place. What do you think about your son and my daughter getting married? Sounds like a deal. I said, let me talk it over with my wife. I call my wife. She comes in, says, what do you think about so-and-so getting married? Oh, no, he's young. I said, no, he's getting married. And she says, okay. That's how we communicate. And so we go to Los Angeles without my son. And we study the parents. We stay there for about 2-3 days, if the mother is a good cook. Because if you're not a good cook, your daughter is not a good cook, and then my son will suffer because he has to eat peanut butter and jelly every single day. And that's not what I want to put my son through, okay? So I realize that she's a good cook. Then I sit back and I say, okay, well, how do the husband and wife talk to each other? And they talk relatively well. Do they drink? No. Do they smoke? No. Do they watch porn? Yes. No. And what kind of friends do they have? This is like a detective. You look at the background. Did I study psychology? No, but I love my son. I don't want him to be hurt. And so I have no choice but to study the culture, the tradition, the rituals, the customs of this family. And that's what happens when you care. When you care, you become a student of so many different branches of knowledge. You have no choice but to. Then we say, okay. Then on the last day, we hang out with the daughter. What kind of friends does she have? You know, how she dresses, how she talks, if she reads any books, you know, she's a bimbo, what is her case? And she was relatively decent. And then we invite them here. And then when they were here, I have my son meet this young woman. Not like on a date, going to a park walk. No, that's stupid. Here we are sitting, there is my son and there is that girl. The only way they meet is with their eyes. They don't talk. And then leave, and I call my son to the study. I say, hey, so-so, what do you think about marriage? Oh, Dad, I'm too young. That's true. I'm not ready. No one is ever ready for difficult things in life. You got to be pushed and seasoned and forced to be ready. Well, how about in 5 years when I finish school? Well, school doesn't really make you educated. You'll still be a stupid guy when you graduate. I think it's time for you to get married. After some back and forth, he tells me that he has a girlfriend. I go to my garage, grab my tools, hammer, chisel, machete. I come into the study. I say, what did he say? You know, he begins to pee his pants. And long story short, her name is Janet. I say, is she Persian? I've never heard the Persian name Janet before. No, you know, she's from Texas. I will invite her over, let's see. So she comes in, you know. She has like a mini skirt on. Like a very thin, tan, white blouse with no undergarment. I said, so, how are you doing? Fine. Where are your parents? Oh, I haven't spoken to them for a while. Okay, that's great. That's a great background. Do you go to school? Oh, no, I dropped out of high school. Well, that's another, yeah, good job. Do you have any savings? Oh, no, I'm a hippie. I live day by day. Oh, great. Well, you know, my son is Persian. Do you know much about the culture? Well, is that like in East Coast? I said, oh, okay, intelligent too. What do you want with my son? I love him. Ooh, yes, yes, you love him. Okay. And I look at my son and he has got these stupid dreamy eyes about him. So I call Uber or the police or something to take this woman home. And I look at my son and I say, what the hell are you doing, man? I love her, Dad. I'm going to marry her. Oh, you're going to marry her. I slap him. Well, imaginatively. I wasn't actually, because he's much bigger than I am. I know me. Yeah, morning. I take away his phone, privileges. He's under house arrest. And he gives me this guff, you know. I'm an American now. I called the SPCA on you. You know, all that stuff. 4 or 5 months later, he's somewhat recovered from his so-called puppy love affair. And then I say, okay, you're going to get married to that girl over there. I don't know her. I say, oh, son, you will never get to know anyone in your lifetime. It's impossible. The best you can do is to tolerate people. Get to know them a little bit, you know. And once you get to know them, then toleration begins. So you gotta have a thick skin. But I don't have any money. It's okay, I'll pay for the wedding. But I don't have a place to live. Oh, you're not gonna have your own place, you're gonna live with us. We're going to be your GPS for the next like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then after like 6 months into their marriage, I say, so when are you guys gonna have children? Oh, I'm still young. I'm 20-some, and she's like 15. It's too early. It's not too early. Are you kidding? What are you going to do? After this honeymoon period is over, you're going to look at her and say, so, honey, are you happy? What is she going to tell you? No, I'm miserable. You want to deal with that? You want to go home and deal with confusion, your own and hers? No. Go to the bedroom right now. She's there. Lock the door. Go at it. And let your mom and I hear some music. We are very open-minded. And then 2 weeks later, she comes out saying, I'm pregnant. 3 weeks later, they have a son. We're not like Americans. We do things fast. And things happen very quickly. You guys have to wait 9 months. For us, it's only 3 weeks.
The Virgin Spirit.
Yeah. And what happens now when you go home, you don't have the energy to look at your wife and say, so how are you doing? You say, how's the kid? And for the next 18, 19, 20 years, that's what the conversation revolves around. Children, diapers, shoes, clothes, school, friend, TV. And when your kids are now old and they've left the house, you look at your wife, she's all wrinkled up, you're all wrinkled up, you're far too exhausted to say, has your life been meaningful? No, you kind of both get on your wheelchair and go for a ride. And then you die. The point of the story was, if you care or love something, you pay attention to all things. You can't do philosophy without being interested in history. And you can't do history without being interested in people's psychology. And ultimately, when people come together, they create a society. So you have to be a good sociologist too.
Thank you.
So next time you go out on a date, don't ask her for her name or what she does. Ask her about her parents.
Her credit score and her parents.
Huh?
Her credit
There you go. That's right. By the way, I don't mean to say that just because, your past is a little dicey, that you're dicey as well. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you could be. But you could also not be. Yes?
It's funny, in my youth, that whole scenario would sound horrible and overly controlling and just abhorrent. And now that I'm older, I've been married, I'm like, that sounds like a really sound way of
Yeah.
coupling.
It's AI. Before we get to Hafez, anyone else? No?
Sorry. There's a...
Forgive me, Emerson, the only reason why I'm just holding off on Hafez, I just have to get in the mood. I'm very moody, so... Yeah.
There's a school of thought in psychology that says reason, or what people think is reason, is really is often based on emotion. It's not actually based on real reason. It's applying value judgment, which comes from emotion, and then having a justification around that value judgment to say, I'm just being reasonable or logical, or is that... What do you think? What do you think of that? That's what we've been discussing here.
What was that guy's name? Montel Williams? He was like a talk show host some years ago. He had a segment on racism, and he had invited some Klan people on the stage, and in particular there was this 19-year-old, very attractive. She was very articulate. And she loved Hitler and his ideas of eugenics and the eradication of red people, black people, brown people, yellow people. You know, for her, the white should reign supreme. At some point in the show, she had mentioned that the word Adam in the Old Testament means white man. Okay. And it's very much like what you said. So you have, if you've seen the movie American History X, so what you have is a human being, for the most part, could be perhaps a blank slate, nothing is written on it. And it depends on where you live, and your environment kind of begins to write scripts on you. And then those scripts become first emotional, and then it becomes a belief system. And then you do everything according to the emotions and the belief system that you have. And whatever doesn't fit that belief structure, gonna get tossed out. Just in case what you're experiencing is new and it's somehow relevant, but it has some edges that don't fit, what you do is you employ justification. You begin to kind of adjust the rough edges to fit the structure that lives inside you. And that's exactly what that girl, and many of us in this class do. You know, your question is complex for a couple of reasons, because you have to first deal with the sort of animals that we are, which is emotional, then how beliefs are generated, and how beliefs, for the most part, live in the past, but they have the power to project themselves and impose themselves into the present and ultimately the future. And so belief systems have a tendency of shaping everything around you, past, present, and the future. You know, it's like you and I will always go out with the same girl. Always. It doesn't matter how many dates you have, they're always going to be the same because you're looking for a specific kind of a belief system or temperament, you know. Anyways, yeah. So